A few years ago, I made a video talking about the movie On Deadly Ground, starring Steven Seagal, which came out in 1994. In 1997, Steven Seagal starred in Fire Down Below, which, in many ways, is very similar to On Deadly Ground, including how bad it is. Hey guys, welcome back to the show, and on this episode, I'm going to be talking about another Steven Seagal movie, because a lot of you have been asking me to review more of his movies, and to be honest with you, every time I do, a lot of people watch. So here we go again. Yeah. Also, side note, I know a lot of people want me to review newer movies, and they don't want to watch my videos that I do on older films, like the black and white ones, because they don't like the black and white, and that's fair. I'm going to be reviewing some newer movies coming up, but I just wanted to say that if you're a fan of the humor of this show, I would encourage you to give those videos a chance, because some of them are my favorites, and I feel that they have some of my best skits. Based on the title, you couldn't be blamed for thinking that this is a movie where Steven Seagal is fighting some kind of venereal disease, but it's not. Much like On Deadly Ground, it's an action movie with a half-baked environmental message where Steven Seagal saves an entire community of people. He's basically an extremely violent version of Captain Planet. Fire Down Below is an hour and 44 minutes long, but it was much longer until it was apparently heavily re-edited for its theatrical release, which resulted in some of the trailers showing scenes that didn't end up in the movie. The movie also features cameos and performances by several country music stars, including Steven Seagal himself, of course. Now, in Spain, this movie was actually promoted as the sequel to On Deadly Ground, which is kind of funny, seeing that it's not supposed to be the same character. I mean, he has a different name, but I guess it doesn't really matter, because just like in On Deadly Ground, this is yet another movie where there's really no point in giving the character a name, because he's not playing a character, he's really just playing Steven Seagal. The movie starts with Steven doing what he does best, flying an airplane while thinking about his partner and friend who was found dead. So he goes to investigate what happened in the small town of Jackson, Kentucky. In this movie, he's an EPA compliance agent, which means that if they're not complying, he'll make them comply. Or just kill them, I assume. So the people around town don't talk much, which means he's gonna have to go undercover. You know, fix a few porches here and there, blend in. Shouldn't be too hard, he looks exactly like a typical porch repairman. No one will suspect a thing. And look at him go, cutting wood like a pro, until the girls in the house tell him that their brother is sick, and he jumps at the chance to talk to him.
Hi, Walter. How you doing? You drawing a picture?
Who the hell are you? Hey, Mom?
What's this one here? Is it a helicopter or a UFO?
It's actually the helicopter that I'm hoping will come and take me away from this conversation.
That's what I thought. You see a lot of them around here?
Did you actually listen to what I just said?
He's sick.
I'm not sick. I'm just trying to relax by myself.
How long's the boy been sick like this?
I'm not sick. I like to lie around during the day and draw pictures. There's nothing wrong with that. Are they perfect? Am I Da Vinci? No, but I'm learning. And also, I'm drawing these lying down. So considering that, I don't think that drawing of the helicopter is all that bad.
The Reverend said you work on the outside of the house.
Yes, sir. Boy was sick. I just came in to cheer him up.
Oh my God! Is nobody listening to me? I'm not sick. Just because my drawings aren't that great doesn't mean there's something wrong with me. Here, do you want to try this? Go ahead. You draw a helicopter from memory right now. Yeah, it's not that easy. Here, you know what? I'll draw you something. Just for you. You can consider it a parting gift. Because after this, you can leave. There. That's you. It's not that far off. Anyways, he goes into town, and look, in this movie, the character is trying to blend in with the locals in this small town. So why would he wear clothes that make him stick out like a sore thumb? Because these aren't the clothes of the character. These are Steven Seagal's clothes. Like I said before, he's not playing a character. He's just playing himself. That's why it's always more or less the same. So Steven gets some supplies from a store and says this to the two girls working there.
Two beautiful twins like you. Gets a man thinking.
See, that's something that I don't believe that the character would say, but I do believe that it's something Steven Seagal would say. The implication is that he's going to start fantasizing about having a threesome with these two sisters, which I'm sure they're thrilled about. I don't know, I just feel like that's kind of an inappropriate thing to say to two people that you just met in a town where you're trying to make a good impression. Yeah, you two are twins. Yeah, got me thinking about sex with the two of you. Anyways, he sets up shop and starts testing the water, but some kid starts pissing in the stream. And of course, instantly, Steve knows that something is wrong.
Hey boy, what are you doing?
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought this was a free country. Can't somebody urinate out in the woods without Steven Seagal sticking his nose in? Of course not. As long as he's in town, you're in Seagal country. So Steve chases this kid through a farm where they are drying some really crappy looking weed. And when I say crappy looking weed, I mean these look like actual weeds. The guys who own the farm aren't too happy about him being there, but his jokes comparing them to the locals from Deliverance are so funny that it gives him the chance to do what Steven Seagal used to do in the 90s, back when he could still move around easily. Then later, after Steve attends church and somehow doesn't burst into flames, he notices this woman and he's like, damn, maybe this place isn't so bad. But the Reverend is like, nah, dude, forget about her. She's a loser. Look, she's eating all by herself. Nobody likes her. Plus, she doesn't even have a twin sister. But Steve doesn't care. He goes to her house and offers to fix her porch. And she's like, get the hell out of here, buddy. I'm working with bees over here. I'm trying to run my honey business. I don't have time for you and your good deeds. One night, Steve falls asleep trying to read some maps, but I guess somebody put a couple of rattlesnakes through his window. They try to bite him, but of course, he's faster than the snakes. So he grabs them and throws them out the window. And I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I mean, the whole movie is like this, as you would expect. It's almost like these movies are made primarily for him. These scenes are like a collection of fantasies designed to inflate his ego. It's like he's not human. He's some kind of indestructible supernatural being who casually handles anything and anyone that comes his way. He never falters. He's never really challenged or in any dire situations. He never gets seriously hurt. All this stuff is just there to show how invincible he is in our pathetic mortal world. And it was the same in On Deadly Ground. This guy gets blown up and whatever, a few cuts and he's back in no time. Then he fights a bear, gets thrown into a raging river, and yeah, no, totally fine, not a scratch. If you didn't know any better, you'd swear it was some kind of strange parody. You'd think it was some kind of a comedy. It's not. He's dead serious. He's not joking. He's never joking. He's incapable of joking, even when somebody else is writing his jokes. If you don't believe me, just watch the episode of Saturday Night Live that he was on. They banned him from the show after that. Of course, Steve runs into Sarah, the girl that nobody likes, and it looks like she can't afford all her groceries, so she has to leave some behind. And Steve's like, oh my god, she knows how to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. The one thing I don't know how to do. I can't let this one slip away. And this is where I gotta give Steve some credit, because he knows the quickest way to a beekeeper's heart is by going to the store and buying all of their honey. But you have to make sure that they know that you bought it all, so you gotta chase them down and then convince them to let you give them a ride home so that they can see all the honey in the back of your truck. Pretty brilliant plan, if you ask me. Steve wants to know why no one likes Sarah, so he pulls up some old newspaper articles and he gets frustrated trying to figure out what happened based on the pictures because he can't read very well. So he goes over to her house for dinner, and while he's disappointed by the lack of PB&J sandwiches, he still asks her out to the big dance. Now you might be thinking, gee Steve, don't you think you should work on wrapping up this investigation as soon as possible so that you don't have to spend any more time than necessary in a town where people are getting poisoned by toxic waste? Well, look, investigations take time, and he's got to find witnesses who are willing to come forward. And in order to do that, he's got to spend time becoming part of the community. You know, building relationships, making friends, starting a lot of fights. Again, I mentioned this in the On Deadly Ground video, but the same applies here. These fight scenes aren't even fight scenes. It's just Steven Seagal beating the crap out of people in a variety of different ways. There's no back and forth. There's no struggle. Nobody even gets close to him.
You know, I'm damaging my lumber for the house. I just use my hands.
He's really able to do whatever he wants. There's no consequences and there's no real obstacles, except the fact that at some point his head might get so big that he'll start to float away. At least we can hope.
What does it take to change the essence of a man?
At one point in the movie, the cops come up to him and they're like, hey, we just saw you beat up 5 people. And we can't just have you going around town beating the shit out of everyone, so you gotta go to jail. And Steven Seagal is like, you know who I am, I can arrest you too. And then he beats up all the cops and sticks a gun in one of their mouths, and they're like, okay, yeah, you're free to go. Okay, so basically what's happening in this movie is this guy who owns a coal mining company is getting paid a bunch of money to dump toxic waste into an abandoned coal mine, and at this point, he sees that Steven Seagal is going to figure everything out and he's got to stop him. So he calls somebody, and then this truck driver starts ramming into Steve, trying to kill him. And at one point, Steve parks on the edge of a cliff. The truck driver clearly knows it's a cliff. Steve somehow has time to get out, stand in front of the car, and then jump out of the way at the last second, and the truck goes flying off the cliff. And what did the truck driver think was going to happen? That if he hit Steve, that it would kill all the momentum of the truck and that it wouldn't go off the edge of the cliff? Maybe if he hit 2024 Steven Seagal, but not 1997. So then, I guess Steve just walks all the way back into town and right into the church and starts lecturing everyone, just like in On Deadly Ground, because he's the smartest guy in the world. And he starts telling everyone, hey, rich people don't care about you. They think you're all dumb, and they're dumping toxic waste into the mines, and none of you seem to care. So stop being so dumb and start caring. I also like how after everything that just happened, he walks in looking like nothing just happened. There's not a speck of dust on his clothes. All there is a cut above his eyebrow, which completely disappears in the next scene. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's not even in the next shot. I can just imagine they were probably like, okay, so for the next scene, you know, the character should probably have like a band-aid or something, and he's just like, I don't wear band-aids. But anyways, all of that caring crap will have to wait, because it's time for the big dance. Look, one of the band members drank too much, but that's okay because here comes Steve, and he's not gonna help the old man get up. He's just going to take his guitar so that he can rock out and punch people in the face, because nothing gets in the way of him and a good ego stroke. But hang on a second, looks like someone set fire to the church with the Reverend inside, you know, so that he can't be a witness. That's not very nice. And this is when Sarah's brother, Earl, who just showed up out of nowhere halfway through the movie, is like, hey Steve, I used to work for the bad guys, but I'm not a bad guy anymore. I'm a good guy, I promise. Anyways, I'll take you to the mine with all the toxic waste, but like in an hour or so? Not right now, I've got some stuff to do. Sarah goes home and Earl sets her bees on fire so that, you know, they can't be witnesses either. I guess he was lying when he said he wasn't a bad guy anymore. What a jerk. Steve meets up with Earl at the mine and sees that he's got a gun.
What's the gun for? Just in case, huh?
I mean, come on, Steve. Isn't it obvious what's going on here? He's bringing the gun because the mine is full of toxic waste, so there's bound to be monsters down there. Have you learned nothing from TV and movies? And suddenly, Steve has it all figured out. When Sarah was a child, she was molested by Earl, and when their father found out about it, he was going to beat up Earl, and Earl killed him. Then he told Sarah to take the blame for it so that he wouldn't go to prison because she would be left all alone.
You got a sharp mind and a fast man.
Because he's all the things. Pilot, federal EPA agent, martial arts expert, snake wrangler, lead guitarist, and a detective who put all the pieces of the puzzle together after his girlfriend acted kind of nervous around her brother. I'm serious, that's all it took. Anyways, the mine is filled with bad guys with guns, but Steve easily kills all of them, and not a single one of them can make a shot that even comes close to him, because this is just how it is in the Steven Seagal universe. He's in God mode 100% of the time. Of course, the mine starts exploding and everybody dies except Steve, who walks out the back door. In the end, you can't help but feel bad for Sarah. I mean, she lives in a town poisoned by toxic waste. She got accused of murder, ostracized by the whole town, and then in the end, turns out her brother was a piece of shit too. But I guess it's okay because Steve is gonna make it all up to her. He bought her new bees. And this is obviously supposed to be a really romantic gesture, but he can't even act like he's really that interested in her. Now, originally, this movie was going to have Bruce Willis in the lead role, and the script had more detective elements. It was more of a drama, which I could totally see, and quite frankly, I think would have been a much better movie. You know, if the investigation was more of an investigation and not just going around hitting people with sticks and putting guns in their mouths. But Bruce Willis turned it down, so they brought in a new screenwriter who then converted it to a Steven Seagal action movie. Like I said at the beginning, there are a few cameos in this movie. One of them is by Levon Helm from The Band, and apparently Steven Seagal tried to convince him to reunite the band with him playing lead guitar instead of Robbie Robertson. He then apparently continued to pursue this until Levon Helm died. And look, I don't know how true this really is, but I don't have a hard time believing it. I just think it's hilarious to picture that. Steven Seagal being like, hey, I really think you should reunite the band. Except, you know, with me. Also, the owner of the coal mining company was played by Chris Christopherson, who sadly passed away while I was editing this video. Aside from being a country music legend, he was also an actor who appeared in a ton of movies over the course of his career. This movie was nominated for 4 Golden Raspberry Awards: Worst Picture, Worst Actor, Worst Screen Couple, and Worst Original Song, but it lost all of them. I want to thank all of my supporters on Buy Me a Coffee, Patreon, and my YouTube channel members. I want to thank all of you for tuning in, but that's pretty much it for this one, and I'll see you all next time. They should just call him Steven Seagal in every movie. That's what the character should be called, Steven Seagal. Because he really is a fictional character at this point. What do you think about it? It's just so unbelievably ridiculous. Looking back at it, I can't help but think, like, how did it get to this point? Really, the answer is that people kept buying tickets to his movies. It's just so stupid.